Here we asked to simplify the following, and really in this case here, what we're practicing is getting rid of the radical in the denominator. So what we really call this is rationalizing the denominator. And the way to do that is a couple of steps. The first thing that I always recommend doing is simplify first. If we can simplify any of the square roots, it's going to help us down the line before we get started. In this first one here, there's nothing that we can simplify, so we got to move on to the next one. We can't simplify the fraction, that doesn't help us, but we have a square root in the bottom here. So what we're going to do is I'm really going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 2, because if I have practiced multiplying square roots, I should know that when I multiply two things inside of a square root together, that is the same number without the square root. Now I multiply 3 times the square root of 2, and make sure that you don't make the mistake of multiplying that number on the outside by the number on the inside. We don't have to do that. We just take 3, multiply it by root 2, and that is our simplified answer. We double check and make sure there's no radical in the denominator. We're good to go. Second one here, what we can look at is we'll take a quick look to see, can I simplify this fraction? No, I can't. So what I'm really going to do is start from the beginning, square root of 3 over the square root of 2, and then I'm going to get rid of the radical in the denominator by multiplying again by the square root of 2 over the square root of 2, because that gives me in the denominator 2. Now I'm multiplying these on the inside, square root of 3 times 2, which is just the square root of 6 over 2. Can't simplify that anymore, so there is my final answer. The next set here with the square root of 6 on the bottom, same thing here. I can look at this as 8 over the square root of 6. I can't simplify this fraction at all. I cannot simplify the 8 and the 6 because 8's on the outside of a square root, 6 is on the inside of the square root. So really I just am moving straight to my third step here, where I am going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 6. The top just becomes the square 8 times the square root of 6. The bottom becomes 6. Now I got to be careful because I can actually simplify this a little bit more. 8 over 6 can be simplified. A way to look at this is like 8 over 6 times the square root of 6 over 1, just separating these out because these two things here are the same. And now I can simplify this fraction into 4 over 3. And then I can multiply it back to the square root of 6 to give me my final answer of 4 root 6 over 3 for that one. Next one here, this one here I'm going to put together here because what I see here is I can actually simplify this fraction to become the square root of 1/3. That's going to make life easier because when I break it back up, I get the square root of 1 over the square root of 3. And the square root of 1 I actually know is just 1. Now I've done that first, and I know it's switching a lot back and forth between these two forms here, but it's going to help us because now all we have to do is get rid of this square root. We're not going to have to simplify later. So to get rid of that square root, we multiply square root of 3 over square root of 3. That gives us 3 on the bottom, square root of 3 on the top, and that's completely simplified. Next one here, 10 over square root of 12. So I'm actually going to simplify this square root first. So I know that the square root of 12 is 4 times 3, 2 times 2, which tells me that that's really 10 over 2 root 3. Now I can simplify this fraction. 10 over 2 is really just 5 over 1. So this becomes 5 root 3 because I'm simplifying this. And then lastly, I need to get rid of this square root in the denominator. I've already done all the simplifying that I need. So I just multiply root 3 by root 3. And what I get is 5 times the square root of 3 on the top. 3 times 3 here gives us 3. And now I'm all the way simplified. Last one here, I am going to put together into a fraction here because I know if I simplify 60 over 3, that gives me the square root of 20. Because 60 divided by 3 is 20. Now I can simplify this. I don't even have to worry about any denominator anymore. All I got to do is simplify this square root, which ends up being 2 root 5, and I'm all finished. So 4 steps here. 2 of them are simplifying beforehand to try and make things easier. The really important one, the difficult one, is this third step here to get rid of the square root in the denominator. And on the bottom, this fourth step here is really just to double check, make sure our answer doesn't have any square roots in the denominator.